and gentlemen, it's your friend Mike Brady from Oceanliner Designs, and I do have a little bit of news for you. We kind of made a video game. So for the longest time, I've wanted to walk on the decks of the ocean liners that we've talked about on this channel. And we did start making a video game a couple of years ago a year and a half ago, called Grand Voyage, which was meant to do just that. But it's a big project. It's taken a lot of time. It's very in-depth. There's a lot of interiors, a lot of very high detailed work. So recently, our lead developer, Matt, put the United States, a 3D model of the ship that he had bought from a CG trader made by a very talented modeler called Kalju Kotkas. Put that in Unreal Engine, and we just kind of walked around it. And I thought this would be a great way to kind of bring history to life and, you know, give you guys tours around the ships that I'm really passionate about and I love talking about. We've done a series of videos talking about the ship's plans and walking around those in a way, you know, scanning through them and that. But it's not quite the same as actually walking around the ship physically as if you were on board. Well, now you can do that. We've made a game called Ship Explorer. Very original name, I know. I chose that myself. So Ship Explorer is meant to be like kind of an immersive interactive Oceanliner Designs video. So essentially what we've done is, if you come in here to your fleet, you'll see there will be ships that you have unlocked. So the game is launching with the United States and Moray Castle. The Bismarck there is a free DLC. So that one's coming down the line. And then the Lusitania is going to be the first paid DLC ship. That's an additional that will be coming in September. I think we've slated that one out for. So we've covered the Moray Castle in videos. We've covered the United States in videos. Now I can walk you guys around them and talk about them, which is super exciting. So Ship Explorer is going to be available on Steam next month. It's launching in July. So get excited, get hyped. I'm going to put a link for the Discord server if you want all the latest updates. If you want to support this project on Patreon. Basically what we've done is set up our own in-house video game production studio called Turbine Room Studio, which is a great shippy name as well. That's whole reason for being is making virtual experiences just like this. Why don't we just have a little walk around the United States and have a little chat? What do you think? So we just kind of like zoom on in. It's a bit of a rainy day, but that's okay. She looks beautiful. So we all know the United States is kind of having a bit of a rough time at the moment. So we wanted to depict her in her prime, in her heyday. And here she is. So what we've done to this model is make a few tweaks. We're adding the entire length of the promenade deck so you can walk around it and see all the big windows that led to the lounge. I love this view. Look at this. Zooming right around the bow. How cool. So the general idea with Ship Explorer is that we add all the ships that we talk about on the channel and add them as, you know, DLC ships into the future. So you guys, if you want to buy the game, so support the project, support the channel, you can keep adding to your list of ships. There's a couple of really cool features. Let me show you some of them. So the first one is, it is nice to be on board the United States. There are big funnels, but not a big fan of this weather at the moment. So what I'm going to do is change the weather to, let's have a nice, just like a nice kind of sunny day. Never gets old. So yeah, you can change the weather to kind of be whatever you want. If you want it to be the middle of the worst Atlantic storm and pouring with rain, you can do just that. And it will thunder up a storm. So this is exactly the kind of weather the United States was designed to cut straight through like a knife through butter. But what I'm going to do is set that back to just a nice calm day. Maybe some dramatic lighting. What do you think? We'll go for like a sunrise. Yeah, that's nice. Look at that. Beautiful. We got a rainbow because it just stopped raining. So now I can actually walk you guys around the ships and talk about them. So the United States was a pretty special ship for the time. Let me show you some interesting things in third person mode, because you can do that. You can basically tell from the shape of the ship's bow right here that she is designed to just cut the water. So That is a very, very fine bow. And this is what makes an ocean liner an ocean liner. You know, cruise ships have a very kind of ponderous curve at the front where the ship becomes a barge behind that. But the Queen Mary 2 has a similar kind of form as this, where from about the middle of the ship down, it is like the front of a chisel. You know, that is a mean, sharp bow designed for cutting its way through the worst of the North Atlantic weather. And that's exactly what the United States here has been designed to do. You can also see the hull's really shiny because it's been raining, which is a bit wet. But if we come back here, there's a few things that make the United States a bit of a unique ship. The inclusion of king posts here. You know, if the ship had been built 10, 20 years earlier, she would have had a forward mast. There would have been a mast here with cargo derricks, like the Queen Mary. But by this point, they really didn't need it. So they just built these things. King posts. Cargo cranes, essentially. They're just like a tower that's designed purely to handle cargo. So you can see we've got cargo hatch number 1 here, and cargo hatch number 2 here. So she's a very, you know, practical ship. What I do love about this is you can see the character here, who is a very charming looking fella. You really get a sense of the scale of this ship when you zoom out and see how tiny that guy is. That's you. Me, I guess. Obviously doing away with the mast, the designers of the United States, in particular, William Francis Gibbs and co, had to include a lookout. And so they did so by putting on the radar mast a kind of traditional lookout post, which is really weird because you've got this old meets new situation going on where, you know, radar is your lookout, you know, and the lookout post, this is basically almost a redundancy. So, you know, this is just on the verge of ships really relying on radar to see into the distance for navigation. So we'll go back to walking on deck. Now, behind us, we've got one of the ship's massive funnels. We will come back to that little lookout area. Actually, you know what? We'll do that first. We'll do this. So you do come around here. And we'll go for a quick climb. You will see that from the top here, the view, pretty good. It's pretty good. So, you know, having an enclosed lookout as well is like a pretty big deal for the guys who'd have to be up here for their shifts. I think it was 4 hours on. 2 or 4 hours. I forget if it was a dog watch. Anyway, still 2 hours, even if it was just 2 hours, that's a long shift looking out ahead. And you can see that if we bump the conditions, actually, let's make it about, I love that I can do this with you guys and show you all the different conditions. You know, let's make it, this is really interesting because if you set it to foggy, kind of, what time is it right now? 5 a.m. You know, anything that you see up here, if you spot an object there, it's too late. You know, the ship is moving too quickly. It's going to hit it. So ships in fog had to slow right down. That's why radar was such a huge deal, because they could see through fog easily. You didn't actually need a lookout to see through it. But the United States obviously had a weapon, a secret weapon for dealing with this, which we will go and have a look at. So aside from the radar, the United States would also light herself up from stem to stern. And the rules of the road basically dictated that you had to lean on the horn to let everybody know that you were there. And you can do that in Ship Explorer. Never gets old. I could seriously do that all day. Do you want another one? We'll do it again. 3, 2, 1. Oh, so good. So she had these very impressive steam kind of Typhon-like whistles that were up there that were very useful in scenarios like this. Now, United States had some of the biggest funnels of any ship ever built, any passenger ship at least. If you walk over here and stand at the base of one, zoom out, you will see that there is our guy. So everything is scaled 1-to-1, right? So that is the height of a normal guy, is about 5'11" or something like that. That's a big funnel. If you go all the way to the top, you'll see it's a big funnel. And obviously being a feature of the ship, it was, we'll set the weather back to just partial cloud for this. It was, good marketing to focus on them. Ships before then hadn't really seen their funnels during the nighttime as a marketing point. And so they would just leave them blacked out. But by the 30s, ships had started to point spotlights like this up at the funnels to highlight them. So I really like that feature. We've replicated that. Make it daytime again. Another thing the United States was really good for was these huge deck houses. If we just climb to the top of this one real quick, you'll see that the funnel here is sitting on top of this massive house. And the reason for this is these were actually big fan rooms. And back in the day, these ships were covered in vents and fans and all kinds of stuff. You can see it on the Morro Castle, actually, and we'll have a look at that ship next time. But by the time the United States comes around, they're trying to cover all of that clunky equipment because they want to, first of all, make a prettier looking ship, but second of all, free up this kind of space, the first class sports decks and things like that. Because it's a selling point. It's more real estate, so people can kind of just find new ways to relax. So they put all of the fans and trunking and everything behind in these big deck houses with these massive, vent intakes sitting in front of them. So that's what is sitting at the base of the United States is funnels. So we'll go for a little walk down here. Yeah, this is all very nice. What a great view. Can you imagine playing deck tennis right here and standing, I guess, in between these two huge funnels, the two biggest funnels ever installed on an ocean liner. What a cool view. You also get a real sense of the speed when you see the clouds whipping by like that. Very cool. She was, of course, the fastest passenger liner ever built, and she could reach speeds of about 40 knots at full blast. What a beautiful view. Oh, man. That is very cool. Look at that. Gorgeous. Yeah, here you get some of those big vent intakes at the base of the number 2 funnel here. So this as well up here, I'm pretty sure is all engineers promenade stuff. So this deck house here is primarily for crew berthing, and the engineers had to be basically near the access point for the main engines and things. So this is back here, and they lived up here. They had their own little promenade area. And it's still that way as well. The Queen Mary 2's got kind of like a similar layout where she's got a big, come and stand over here, big deck house with, its own railings and stuff at the base of one of the funnels so that people can, the crew can live and work up there away from the passengers and kind of not have to worry about interacting with them. But if you stand at towards the stern of the Queen Mary 2 and wave up at them, they'll typically wave back at you. One of the other things about the United States is that she was very fast. So she obviously needed some ways to prevent wind whipping all the way down the length of the promenade deck or the boat deck, because it would just be horrible, just a terrible, terrible experience for anybody nearby. So she was fitted with these big wind scoops, basically running the length of the promenade deck below us and also up on the boat deck. That essentially diverted, like a shield, diverted the wind away from people. So it was just a more relaxing and comfortable experience. Here we have another sports deck abaft the number 2 funnel. Now we are approaching the stern of the ship, so I'm actually going to parkour over this railing. Ouch, not advisable for passengers to try that. So we are now on the boat deck, and we're actually just going to walk down here towards the stern of the ship, because I wanted to show you one more thing that's really cool. This isn't finished yet, but in the next week or so it will be, because we've been working on it. Jordan, our 3D modeler, has been making it, but that entire promenade deck, you'll be able to walk through those doors and explore the enclosed promenade, which is cool, because I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I love an enclosed promenade deck. So coming back here, some of the cargo holds were, used for like general cargo, but the United States carried mail, a lot of mail. So if memory serves, this cargo hatch was used primarily for taking on mail. It's conveniently located nearby these very large king posts, just like the ones at the front end of the ship. And it's just really cool how they've nestled in all these working ship spaces around, like passenger spaces. This is where people would relax and play deck tennis, feet away from these huge pieces of equipment that were used to, load and unload the ship. But some little areas were really for the use of crew only, and one of those is here. This is the docking bridge wing. You get a fantastic view, very good view, right down the full port length here, and there's another one on the other side on starboard, the full length of the ship. Very, very useful for, the crew whose job it was to actually guide the ship in to dock or out of dock into New York. It was very, very awkward for this ship to back its way out into the channel coming out of Chelsea, the docks there in the New York piers. So there needed to be men, a quartermaster and an officer at least, at the stern, and they would have been positioned right here when the ship was backing out, keeping an eye on the events as it was coming out. They've got a good view down, and they'd be able to signal and telegraph to the bridge to say everything's good, we're clear, or hold up, there's an obstruction. The other thing that's great about this view is you actually see the effect called tumble home. So you can see that the ship's side isn't straight down. The ship actually bulges out as it gets towards the waterline. So this is done for a number of reasons. It provides some stability because you've got a wider ship at the waterline, so it's wider where it actually reaches the water. But you also get, obviously like marginally more space inside the hull. You can see towards the top of the ship, there's, a decent difference between where it actually reaches the waterline, enough to add, a couple of thousand square feet probably inside the hull of the ship. So you get the benefits of stability, but you also get the benefits of simply more space and more tonnage, therefore making a bigger ship. Pretty cool. It's a great view. I love this view. And if we come down here, we're going to head back into, I'm pretty sure there's a tourist class. We'll come down here, and we have yet another sports deck. But I do love this space. I just think it's such a cool spot to be in. Isn't that a great view? Look at that. It is so surreal seeing this, having looked at the plans, looked at the footage, to actually be standing here on the ship is kind of weird. It looks very convincingly real, I do have to say. We do already have a covered promenade installed, and it is over here. This is a great little spot. So this is the tourist class covered prom, and you can see that there is a little cutout here so that I get this ocean view. But what a view, look at this. Imagine just sitting here reading a book. Hang on, let me set the scene. Let me set the scene just right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the stuff. Oh yeah, my dream. Sitting right here, reading a book with a fresh coffee, early in the morning. Chef's kiss. So I will head towards the stern of the ship and end our brief tour, because this is just a brief overview of the kind of work that we've been doing with Ship Explorer. So the point of Ship Explorer is to give you the opportunity, like I said, to walk around these ships. Each ship comes with this level, which is a at sea level. It also comes with a special level. So the United States, you can actually visit in dry dock and learn about the secrets below the waterline that actually made the ship the fastest ocean liner in the world. The Morro Castle has a kind of horrifying fire level where you can learn about the final voyage and the fire that destroyed the ship. And the Bismarck will have a final battle level where you can learn about that ship's final engagement, see it kind of half beaten around and half sunk in the engagement with the Royal Navy's Home Fleet and combined forces, basically at the end of its career. The release window for Ship Explorer is mid to late June. That's when that's coming out. Patrons for Ship Explorer over at the Turbine Room Studio Patreon will be getting this game earlier, about a week or two earlier than everybody else. So if you're keen to support the game and you want to go and get early access, I'll put a link for the Patreon below. But I hope you've enjoyed this little look around the United States. It's been very fun. There's so much more we could talk about. So yeah, I'm really keen to give you guys some more tours around ships that we are keen to include in Ship Explorer. It's really cool to have our own video game, our own virtual experience, to be able to show you guys exactly what we've been talking about and give you a little bit of an inkling of what it might have been like to be on board an Oceanliner back in the day. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're as excited for Ship Explorer as we all are. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay happy, and I'll see you again.